5 clever ways to shake up an avoidance emotions. The truth is, you don't transform a person's life by playing small. And if you're dealing with someone who's emotionally avoidant, you know exactly what I mean. They avoid depth like it's quicksand. They dodge intimacy like it's an incoming punch. But here's the thing. No one is born emotionally avoidant. It's a learned response. And if it's learned, it can be unlearned. You just need the right tools to bypass their defenses and tap into what's real. Ready to shake things up? Let's dive into 5 clever ways to rattle that emotional armor. Avoidants thrive in their comfort zone. It's their safe space, their fortress. It's where they feel protected from the messy, unpredictable world of emotions that they've worked so hard to avoid. But here's the kicker. Nothing ever changes inside the comfort zone. It's a place of stagnation, not growth. And when it comes to relationships, with avoidance, this comfort zone becomes a barrier. If you're serious about reaching an avoidant, you have to understand that they won't willingly step out of that space without a little nudge. Okay, maybe a strong shove towards something deeper. Now, what does that mean in practice? It means you got to disrupt the numbness. Avoidants have often spent years perfecting the art of emotional detachment. They've learned to suppress uncomfortable feelings, intellectualize their emotions, or distract themselves with work, hobbies, or endless scrolling on their phone. They don't do this because they don't care. They do it because caring feels risky. Caring feels overwhelming, and deep down, they may not believe it's safe to feel at all. So they stay in control by avoiding situations that might push them to confront those deeper emotions. To shake things up, you need to disrupt that autopilot behavior. You're not going to get through to an avoidant by being passive or overly accommodating. That only reinforces their belief that they can keep you at arm's length without consequence. Instead, you need to challenge them in a way that makes them pause, reflect, and reconsider their default patterns. One way to do this is by asking bold, unexpected questions that break through their surface-level responses. Instead of asking how their day was, ask what excites them about life right now. Instead of skimming past their vague answers, press gently but firmly for more depth. Sometimes, avoidants need to be reminded that there's more to life than playing it safe, and that someone is willing to meet them there beyond the shallow waters. But it's not just about what you say, it's about how you show up. An avoidant won't respond to challenges from someone who seems unsteady, emotionally reactive, or needy. They're wired to pull back when they sense intensity or chaos. That's why you have to challenge their comfort zone while staying grounded in your own emotional stability. If they retreat, don't chase. If they throw up a wall, don't try to tear it down with sheer force. Instead, hold your ground. Let them feel the tension of your presence without trying to fix or smooth things over. This tension can be uncomfortable, but it's also where change happens. Another powerful way to challenge an avoidance comfort zone is to model vulnerability in a way that feels authentic and non-threatening. Many avoidants are drawn to people who can express their emotions openly because deep down they crave that kind of freedom, but it also terrifies them. So when you share something vulnerable, do it without expectation. Don't demand an immediate response or try to drag them into a deep conversation they're not ready for. Instead, plant the seed. Show them that vulnerability isn't as dangerous as they think. Over time, this can create a subtle but profound shift in their perspective. It's also important to challenge avoidants on their tendency to avoid conflict or tough conversations. Many avoidants have learned to shut down at the first sign of discomfort, but this only reinforces their emotional avoidance. When conflict arises, don't back down or tiptoe around the issue. Address it directly, but calmly. Let them see that conflict doesn't have to mean chaos or rejection. When you handle conflict with grace and clarity, you're showing them that it's possible to stay connected even when things get messy. Ultimately, challenging an avoidance comfort zone is about creating opportunities for growth, not forcing change. It's about nudging them toward a new way of being without pushing so hard that they retreat even further. It's a delicate balance, but when done with empathy, patience, and confidence, it can open the door to deeper connection and lasting transformation. The key is to stay consistent, stay grounded, and trust the process, because real change doesn't happen overnight. But when it happens, it's worth every moment of the journey. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to connect with someone who has avoidant tendencies is chasing them. It's an instinctual response. When someone pulls away, the natural reaction is to close the gap, to pursue, to try to bring them back closer. But with avoidance, this strategy almost always backfires. Why? Because avoidants are wired to protect their independence. The more they sense someone chasing after them, the more they feel the need to create distance to reclaim their sense of autonomy. They may not even be fully aware of this dynamic, but it plays out time and time again. If you want to truly reach an avoidant, you have to flip the script. Instead of chasing, you need to evoke curiosity. Curiosity is a powerful tool, especially especially when dealing with avoidant people. When you chase them, they already know what's coming. They've seen it before. They can predict how the conversation will go, and they'll disengage before it even begins. But when you stop chasing and start creating a sense of intrigue, everything changes. Avoidants are naturally cautious, but they're also human, and like anyone else, they're drawn to what feels new, unpredictable, and a little mysterious. When you become someone they can't quite figure out, someone who doesn't react in the way they expect, you tap into that curiosity, and that's when they start leaning in. So how do you evoke curiosity in an avoidant? It starts with breaking familiar patterns. If you've been the one initiating contact, checking in, or trying to pull them into deeper conversations, it's time to pause, give them space, let them feel the absence of your usual efforts. This isn't about playing games, it's about shifting the dynamic. When you stop chasing, it disrupts their expectations. They might start wondering why you've changed, why you're not doing what they expected. And that wonder can be the first crack in their emotional walls. At the same time, you need to focus on becoming a little less predictable in your interactions. Avoidants tend to retreat when things feel too intense or when they sense a clear agenda. If you're always explaining your thoughts and feelings in great detail, they might feel overwhelmed and shut down. Instead, try expressing yourself in ways that leave room for interpretation. Make a thoughtful comment, then let it hang in the air without rushing to fill the silence. Share something meaningful, but don't demand an immediate response. Leave them with something to think about, something that lingers long after the conversation ends. Another way to evoke curiosity is by focusing on your own life and personal growth. Avoidants are often drawn to people who are grounded, self-assured, and independent. When you're deeply engaged in your own passions, when you're pursuing your goals with confidence and purpose, you become magnetic. You're no longer someone who seems to need their attention or approval. You're someone who's thriving on your own terms. And that kind of energy is hard to resist. It creates a sense of intrigue because it signals that you're not waiting around for them. You're living your life and they have to decide whether they want to be part of it. It's also important to remember that evoking curiosity isn't about withholding your emotions or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about shifting the focus away from trying to fix or manage the avoidance feelings and toward creating a dynamic that feels fresh, engaging, and unpredictable. When you stop chasing, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of trying to control the outcome. You let go of the need for immediate validation, and that in turn makes you more emotionally resilient. Avoidants are used to people either chasing them or giving up on them. When you do neither, when you stay present but grounded, engaged but independent, you become something different. You create a sense of tension, not the kind that leads to conflict, but the kind that sparks curiosity and attraction. Over time, this tension can open the door to deeper connection because it allows the avoidant to approach you on their own terms, at their own pace. And when they do, it's not because they've been pressured or pursued, it's because they genuinely want to know more. And that's where real connection begins. Connecting with someone who has avoidant tendencies requires a subtle yet effective approach. One of the most powerful ways to break through their emotional walls is by mirroring their energy, but with a twist. Avoidants often function in a logical, calm, and sometimes distant manner. They tend to steer clear of heightened emotional displays because such situations feel unpredictable and overwhelming. If you come at them with intense emotions or direct demands for closeness, it can trigger their defenses, causing them to pull back even more. But if you match their calm demeanor, you can establish a sense of familiarity that lowers their guard. Once that connection is in place, you can gently guide the interaction toward more depth by gradually introducing emotion into the conversation. When you mirror someone's energy, you create a feeling of safety. Avoidants are hyper-attuned to emotional cues, and they're quick to pick up on tension or urgency by matching their energy, whether it's their calm tone, their measured pace of speaking, or their focus on facts rather than feelings. You're sending a subtle signal. I'm not here to overwhelm you. I'm here to meet you where you are. This helps to disarm their instinct to retreat and makes them more open to engaging with you. However, the key to making this strategy effective lies in the next step. Flipping the energy once you've established that initial sense of safety. This doesn't mean suddenly becoming overly emotional or intense. It means introducing small doses of emotional presence in a way that feels natural and non-threatening. For example, after mirroring their calm tone for a while, you might share a brief, heartfelt story about something that matters to you, or you might make a simple, vulnerable statement like, I've been thinking a lot lately about how important it is to really be present with the people we care about. These subtle shifts can plant seeds that nudge the conversation in a more meaningful direction without feeling like an ambush. One reason this approach works is that people tend to mirror the energy of those around them, often without realizing it. When you stay calm but start to express gentle emotions, the avoidant may unconsciously begin to mirror that back. They might soften their tone, lean in a little more, or share something they wouldn't normally disclose. This doesn't happen overnight, but over time, time, these small shifts can lead to deeper emotional connection. It's also important to be patient during this process. Avoidants are used to keeping their emotions tightly controlled, and they may not respond immediately to your efforts. That's okay. The goal isn't to force an instant breakthrough. It's to create an environment where emotional expression feels safe and natural. When you stay consistent in your approach, you're sending a powerful message. I'm here, I'm steady, and I'm not trying to push you faster than you're ready to go. This steadiness can be incredibly reassuring to someone who's used to people either chasing them or giving up on them. Another way to flip the energy is by introducing a sense of playfulness or lightness into the interaction. Avoidance can be serious and self-contained, but that doesn't mean they don't appreciate humor or spontaneity. By mirroring their calm energy and then surprising them with a playful comment or a spontaneous suggestion, you can break through some of the rigidity that often accompanies avoidant behavior. This kind of emotional flexibility can be refreshing for them and can open the door to more relaxed, authentic connection. Throughout this process, it's crucial to stay true to yourself. Mirroring isn't about pretending to be someone you're not or suppressing your own emotions. It's about meeting the avoidant where they are and gradually guiding the interaction toward greater depth and authenticity. When done with empathy, patience, and self-awareness, this approach can create the kind of connection that avoids the usual pitfalls of chasing, conflict, or emotional shutdown. Ultimately, by mirroring and then flipping the energy, you're helping to create a new dynamic, one where the avoidant feels both safe and gently challenged to step outside their usual patterns. This balance of calmness and subtle emotional presence can pave the way for a deeper, fulfilling connection that's built on mutual trust and understanding. And over time, that connection can grow into something far richer than either of you might have imagined at the start. When it comes to avoidance, words often aren't enough. You can talk for hours, explain your feelings, or ask them questions, but if they're in avoidance mode, those words might not penetrate. Avoidants aren't necessarily indifferent, but they've trained themselves to disconnect from emotions, especially in situations that feel intense or vulnerable. That's why one of the most powerful ways to shake up an avoidance emotions is by creating moments they can't ignore, moments that hit differently, that bypass their defenses and linger in their mind long after the moment has passed. Avoidants often avoid emotional experiences by staying in control. They might intellectualize conversations, stick to safe topics, or retreat from anything that feels too raw or unpredictable. To break through that emotional numbness, you need to create experiences that disrupt their usual patterns. This doesn't mean staging dramatic gestures or confrontations. It means crafting subtle but meaningful moments that spark something deeper, moments that leave an impression, even if they don't show it right away. For example, imagine you're having a routine conversation with an avoidant partner or friend, and they're keeping things surface level as usual. Instead of pushing them to open up, you might suddenly share something deeply personal or vulnerable, something they didn't expect. You might say, "I've never told anyone this, but I've been thinking about how scared I was the first time I realized I might lose someone I love." Then let the moment hang there. Don't over-explain. Don't ask for a response, and don't try to manage their reaction. Just let the vulnerability sit in the space between you. Even if they don't say much in the moment, you've created an experience they won't forget. That kind of raw honesty can cut through the avoidant's usual defenses and leave them reflecting on it long after the conversation is over. Another way to create unforgettable moments is through shared experiences that take them out of their usual routine. Avoidants often live in a controlled environment where everything feels predictable and manageable. By introducing spontaneity, you can disrupt that sense of control in a way that feels exciting rather than threatening. It might be as simple as suggesting an impromptu road trip, taking them to a place with a breathtaking view, or surprising them with something thoughtful that shows you've been paying attention to their likes and interests. These experiences create emotional imprints because they stand out from the ordinary. And when someone experiences something unexpected and meaningful, it's harder for them to stay disconnected. Physical presence can also play a big role in creating moments that resonate. Sometimes avoidants disconnect from conversations because they're overwhelmed by verbal exchanges, but physical presence, whether it's a quiet hug, a gentle touch, or simply sitting in comfortable silence, can communicate things words can't. If you can create a moment where they feel safe and connected without the pressure of having to talk or explain themselves, it can open the door to deeper emotional connection. Timing is key when it comes to creating these moments. You don't want to force them when the avoidant is feeling especially withdrawn or defensive. Pay attention to when they seem more relaxed or open, and look for opportunities to introduce small but impactful experiences. These moments don't have to be grand or dramatic. Sometimes it's the quiet, unexpected gestures that leave the deepest impression. A handwritten note, a favorite meal cooked without warning, or a spontaneous compliment that acknowledges something meaningful about who they are. These seemingly small actions can bypass the avoidance defenses and create an emotional spark. It's important to understand that creating moments that stick isn't about manipulation or trying to control how the avoidant responds. It's about offering them experiences that invite connection, presence, and vulnerability in ways that that feel natural and non-threatening. Avoidants often resist emotional depth because it feels overwhelming or unsafe. By creating moments that feel grounded, genuine, and memorable, you're helping them experience emotional connection in a way that feels manageable. Over time, these moments can build on each other, gradually shifting the dynamic and deepening the connection. The key is to be consistent, patient, and attuned to what resonates with them. Avoidance may not show immediate signs of being affected, but that doesn't mean your efforts are wasted. Sometimes it takes time for those moments to sink in and begin to change how they think and feel, but when they do, they can pave the way for a more open, authentic, and emotionally rich relationship. One of the core traits of people with avoidant attachment is their deep-rooted fear of losing control. They've often grown up in environments where emotions felt unsafe, overwhelming, or neglected, so they've learned to rely on themselves and maintain tight control over their emotional world. To them, staying in control means avoiding vulnerability, keeping their guard up, and minimizing emotional risks. But here's the thing about control. It can also lead to disconnection, stagnation, and a lack of deep, fulfilling connections. If you want to help shake up an avoidance emotions, you need to challenge their need for control, but in a way that doesn't feel threatening or confrontational. The challenge here is that avoidants are experts at spotting attempts to break down their walls, and they'll resist anything that feels like an attack on their autonomy. That's why you need to be strategic. You're not trying to overpower their defenses or force them to change overnight. Instead, you're inviting them to step outside their usual patterns and experience something different. You're creating opportunities for them to loosen their grip on control just enough to let something new in. One effective way to do this is by introducing unpredictability. Avoidants often find comfort in routines, predictability, and maintaining emotional distance. When they know exactly how a conversation will go or how you'll react, it reinforces their sense of control. But when you introduce an unexpected element, a surprising comment, a playful challenge, or an unpredictable action, you disrupt that control in a subtle but powerful way. For example, if they're used to you always being available, try stepping back for a while and focusing on your own passions. If they expect you to avoid difficult topics, gently bring up something meaningful and see how they respond. By breaking the patterns they've come to expect, you create an opening for something new to emerge. Another way to challenge their need for control is by modeling emotional flexibility. Avoidants often keep their emotions tightly contained because they fear being overwhelmed or losing control. But when you demonstrate that it's possible to experience strong emotions without falling apart, you're subtly showing them a different way of being. This might mean sharing your feelings in a calm, grounded way without expecting them to respond right away. It could mean expressing vulnerability without pressuring them to reciprocate. When they see that you can handle your emotions with grace and resilience, it challenges their belief that emotions are dangerous or uncontrollable. At the same time, it's important to create a sense of safety and stability. Challenging an avoidance need for control doesn't mean creating chaos or unpredictability in every interaction. If they feel constantly off balance, they're more likely to retreat further into their shell. The key is to find a balance between predictability and surprise, between safety and challenge. For example, you might maintain a consistent presence in their life while occasionally surprising them with small acts of spontaneity. Or you might keep conversations light and casual most of the time, but occasionally bring up something deeper when the moment feels right. This balance helps to create a dynamic where they feel both secure and intrigued. It's also helpful to challenge their assumptions about connection and independence. Many avoidants believe that being in control means being self-reliant and emotionally distant. They may fear that letting someone in will mean losing their sense of autonomy. To counter this, you can gently challenge those beliefs by showing them that connection doesn't have to mean enmeshment or loss of independence. You can do this by maintaining your own independence while staying emotionally present in the relationship. Let them see that it's possible to be close to someone without losing yourself in the process. Over time, these small challenges to their need for control can create cracks in their emotional armor. They might start to question whether their usual patterns are really serving them or whether there might be another way to experience connection. This process won't happen overnight, and it won't always be linear. There may be moments of progress followed by moments of retreat, but if you stay consistent, patient, and grounded, you can help create an environment where real change becomes possible. Ultimately, challenging an avoidance need for control isn't about taking control away from them. It's about helping them realize that they don't need to hold on so tightly. It's about inviting them to loosen their grip just enough to let love, connection, and emotional depth flow into their lives. And when that happens, it can be transformative, not just for them, but for the relationship as a whole. When dealing with someone who has avoidant tendencies, one of the most frustrating experiences can be their ability to shut down and detach emotionally when things get difficult. This detachment isn't necessarily a conscious choice. It's often an ingrained defense mechanism that kicks in when they feel overwhelmed, vulnerable, or out of control. control. If you want to truly connect with an avoidant and create emotional shifts that stick, you need to find ways to ground them in the present moment. The present moment is where true connection happens, where defenses can soften, and where they can experience emotions without feeling like they're drowning in them. Avoidants often live in their heads. They intellectualize emotions, analyze situations from a distance, and disconnect from feelings when they get too intense. To break through this detachment, you need to gently guide them back to their bodies, to their senses, and to the here and now. One of the most effective ways to do this is by creating sensory experiences that anchor them in the present. This could be as simple as taking them on a walk in nature where they can feel the sun on their skin, hear the rustling of leaves, and breathe in the fresh air. It might mean sharing a quiet moment of mindfulness together where you both focus on your breath and let go of distractions. These kinds of sensory experiences can help avoidants reconnect with their emotions in a way that feels safe and manageable. Touch can also be a powerful tool for grounding an avoidant in the present moment. Avoidants can be wary of physical closeness, especially if it feels emotionally charged. But gentle, non-threatening touch can sometimes communicate more than words ever could. This might mean a brief, supportive hand on their shoulder, a light touch on their arm during a conversation, or a quiet hug when they seem especially distant. Physical touch, when offered without pressure or expectation, can help them feel more present in their bodies and less stuck in their heads. Another way to ground an avoidant in the present moment is through humor and playfulness. Avoidants often carry a lot of unacknowledged anxiety, which can make them hypervigilant and overly serious. By bringing lightness and playfulness into your interactions, you can help disrupt that tension and bring them back to the present. This might mean sharing a funny story, making a playful comment, or suggesting a spontaneous activity that gets them out of their usual headspace. Laughter is a powerful way to release tension and create a sense of connection, and it can help avoidants relax and let their guard down. It's also important to stay present and grounded yourself when interacting with an avoidance. Avoidants are highly attuned to other people's emotional states, and if you're anxious, frustrated, or trying to control the outcome of the interaction, they'll pick up on it, and it will likely trigger their defenses. But if you can stay calm, centered, and fully present, you create a space where they can feel safe enough to drop their guard. This means managing your own emotions, staying mindful of your body language, and practicing active listening without rushing to fill silences or steer the conversation in a particular direction. Creating grounding experiences isn't about forcing the avoidant to open up or confront their emotions head on. It's about offering them gentle, consistent reminders that it's okay to be present, to feel, and to connect. Avoidants have often learned that emotions are overwhelming and uncontrollable, so part of grounding them in the present moment is showing them that it's possible to experience emotions without being consumed by them. By staying steady, present, and emotionally regulated yourself, you can help them experience a different kind of emotional dynamic, one that feels safe, grounded, and connected. Over time, these grounding experiences can help an avoidant start to shift their relationship with emotions. They may not become fully comfortable with vulnerability overnight, but they may begin to notice that being present with their feelings doesn't have to be as scary as they once thought. And as they start to experience more moments of connection and presence, they may become more open to deepening their relationship and letting their guard down a little more each time. The process takes patience, consistency, and a willingness to stay present even when they pull back. But when you create grounding experiences that bring them into the here and now, you're planting seeds that can eventually grow into greater emotional openness, trust, and connection. And those seeds, nurtured over time, have the power to transform the dynamic in ways that go far beyond the present moment. One of the most impactful ways to create emotional movement in someone with avoidant tendencies is by focusing on their core desire for independence and self-sufficiency. Avoidants often have a deep-seated need to maintain control over their lives and emotions, stemming from early experiences where relying on others may have felt unsafe or led to disappointment. While this self-reliance can be a strength, it can also become a wall that keeps others at arm's length. However, when you acknowledge and respect their independence while simultaneously inviting them into interdependence, where two people can be strong individuals who also lean on each other when needed, you subtly challenge their rigid self-protection in a way that doesn't feel like a threat. Avoidants tend to resist any attempts to fix or change them because those efforts can feel like an encroachment on their autonomy. The more you try to push them toward emotional intimacy, the more likely they are to retreat. But when you demonstrate that you value their independence and respect their boundaries, you create a foundation of trust. This trust is essential if you want to encourage them to step outside their emotional comfort zone. One powerful way to do this is by celebrating their strengths and reinforcing their sense of competence. Avoidants often see emotional dependence as a weakness, so it can be helpful to frame emotional connection not as something that undermines their independence, but as something that complements it. For instance, you might acknowledge how capable they are at handling challenges on their own, while gently suggesting that sharing those challenges with someone else could make things a little easier. This approach doesn't threaten their independence, it expands their understanding of what true strength looks like. Another key strategy is to lead by example. Show them what healthy interdependence looks like by maintaining your own independence while also being open, vulnerable, and emotionally present. When you demonstrate that it's possible to be both self-sufficient and connected, you're offering them a new blueprint for relationships, one that doesn't require them to sacrifice their autonomy. This might mean pursuing your own passions and interests, setting healthy boundaries, and expressing your feelings without demanding that they do the same right away. By modeling this balance, you create a safe space where they can explore the possibility of connection without feeling like they're losing themselves in the process. It's also important to give them space when they need it. Avoidance can become easily overwhelmed when they feel pressured to connect, and giving them room to breathe can actually strengthen the relationship in the long run. This doesn't mean disappearing or withdrawing your support. It means respecting their need for space while maintaining a steady, consistent presence in their life. When they see that you're not going to chase them or try to control them, it helps to reduce their fear of enmeshment and allows them to come toward you on their own terms. In addition to respecting their independence, you can also challenge their assumptions about emotional connection by highlighting the benefits of mutual support. Avoidants often have a lone wolf mentality where they believe that they can only rely on themselves. By gently introducing moments where they experience the value of leaning on someone else, whether it's through practical support, emotional encouragement, or simply sharing a meaningful moment, you can start to shift their perspective. Over time, these small experiences can add up and help them see that connection doesn't have to be a threat to their autonomy. It can be a source of strength. Patience is key when working with avoidants, and it's important to recognize that change won't happen overnight. They've often spent years or even a lifetime building walls to protect themselves from vulnerability, and those walls won't come down all at once. But by consistently respecting their independence, leading by example, and gently inviting them into moments of connection, you can create the conditions for real, lasting change. Ultimately, the goal isn't to turn them into someone they're not, it's to help them expand their understanding of what it means to be strong and self-sufficient. True strength doesn't come from shutting people out. It comes from knowing that you can rely on yourself while also allowing others to be part of your journey. When avoidants begin to embrace this more balanced view of independence and connection, it can transform not only their relationships, but also their entire approach to life. As we wrap up, I want you to take a moment and reflect on everything we've covered. When it comes to avoidance, it's easy to feel frustrated, confused, or even rejected by their emotional distance. But here's the truth. Beneath that self-protective exterior is someone who deeply craves connection, but doesn't always know how to reach for it. The key isn't to push harder, demand more, or try to change them overnight. It's to create emotional movement in subtle but powerful ways that invite them to soften, to open up, and to experience something different. By shifting your approach, you're not just helping them, you're transforming the entire relationship dynamic. Whether it's through creating unforgettable moments, grounding them in the present, or showing them the beauty of balanced independence, you have the power to spark meaningful change. Remember, this process takes patience, consistency, and a whole lot of self-awareness. But when you stay the course, those small shifts can lead to profound breakthroughs. And as you walk this path, don't forget to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, and your own emotional well-being matters just as much as theirs. Keep showing up with love, strength, and authenticity, and you'll be amazed at how things can start to shift, not just for the avoidant in your life, but for you too. Thank you for your time, your energy, and your willingness to explore this powerful journey of connection and emotional depth. Remember, transformation doesn't happen all at once, but it starts with awareness, intention, and a single courageous step. Thank you for being here today and for investing your energy into this topic. Whether you're navigating your own avoidant patterns or trying to better understand someone in your life, you're already making a difference by being open to growth and connection. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that even the most avoidant individuals can experience emotional breakthroughs when they feel safe, seen, and respected. And you have the power to help create that environment. Thank you for your openness, your curiosity, and your willingness to learn. Keep leaning into the process, keep showing up with authenticity, and keep believing that meaningful connection is always possible. Take care, stay strong, and remember, you've got this. Thank you.